Fade it.
Drink.
Fade it.
Drink.
He's back. Say hello, everyone.
Hello, it's very nice to be back finally. I'm very glad to have heard while I was abroad that you guys have held the ship down quite nicely. So well done, guys.
Have you been listening?
I have. Well, some of them, I have to admit. I've been quite busy over the past few weeks, but I'll be sure to catch up.
That makes sense because he hasn't been mad at us, so he clearly didn't hear what we said.
Would you care to use this time to apologise?
For being away?
Yeah.
Well...
Yeah,
Apologise to us and
this
the
is the
listeners.
equivalent of like Lineker leaving Shearer in charge of Match of the Day. That's what you've done.
Yeah. No, that's a bad comparison for us.
What?
What, we're Shearer, he's Lineker. Me and you make up 50% of Shearer each. And he is entirely Gary
fine,
Lineker.
I'm Shearer, you're Gabby.
If anything, no, you guys...
No, I'm Ian Wright. Yeah, I want to be Ian Wright. You can be...
I mean, you've got the same glasses as Ian, right?
He's a stylish man, I'll take that.
Did you have a good time away?
Yeah, no, it was really good. Yeah, I don't know, just some time away, really. It's quite nice, you know, with the subject that I do, I'm able to kind of leave the country, do university abroad, so...
Okay.
Same.
Yeah, it's subject.
I play by my own rules.
Yeah. Me and Ollie do the same subject, but somehow I've had 10 essays in one exam and Ollie's had 0. Is that right?
Not strictly true. I have them, they're just temporarily on hold. That's...
Until the deadline day.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. In fact, there is transfer deadline day and the summer deadline for my essays may actually be on the same day.
Wow, that's
So
very
maybe we could
exciting.
do a special live episode. I can fly you both in. Yeah, and we'll talk it through.
What, like the reporter outside your room?
Yeah. No, I'll be in here, typing, because no one else is going to be in this building. I'll do my work in here. In fact, this is quite a good study space for those of you who haven't been in, what is this place called? The Nest.
I believe so.
Yeah,
The
if
Hive,
you haven't
I'd
been
say.
to the Nest or the Hive, some animal-based thing, it's a very good study space. Please come here and bring...
Considering we all play for the Hive football team, which is named after this building, I think we should know better than to call it the Nest.
For those of you that know, it's kind of Sky Sports deadline day back in the day when they had to do the reports outside the stadiums. I'll be the guy with the dildo smacking the reporter on the face. I thought that's a good soundbite. If you just edit that bit out and you can associate that with me.
I'll be Odin Wingy. I'll just turn up in my car at a different radio station.
Who's Harry Redknapp in this situation?
Well, I mean, if I'm in the car anyway, I guess I can.
Yeah, you
do
can double
both,
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, he managed West Ham, right?
For years, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably our most successful manager ever.
Really?
Well, in the modern era.
I thought he only did Tottenham, and then apart from that, he did
just
badly.
West Ham, Portsmouth, and Spurs.
Oh no, he did well at Portsmouth, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't they win the FA Cup?
No.
No? They did win it once, though.
They did, but he was gone by then.
Oh, okay.
But we only have 10 minutes with Ollie. So
Yeah, let's utilise you.
So
Yeah.
he's done some research on Cravendale Cottage, where
Very
the three of
impressive.
us were on Monday to watch Fulham win 2-0 against Derby, get into the playoff final.
Well, I've had it written down, I just realised, as Cravendale Cottage, which I actually prefer. So we were at Cravendale Cottage, and, as we were talking about before on the last week's show, Ben paid for the tickets in their entirety.
Yeah.
What?
He did, because as an apology for his...
Sorry, this is news to me. No.
Yeah, we thought you weren't listening whenever we showed up and we weren't in a box and there wasn't a 3-course meal waiting for us.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I looked at the hospitality because I thought if we're going to watch Derby get knocked out of the playoffs, we should do it in style. But, I don't know, don't think £10 a ticket. I couldn't say no.
I mean, here's what I'll say. Hot dogs were surprisingly good. I had 2 hot dogs, not at the
that's
same
what's
time.
important, isn't it, really?
Yeah, Arsenal hot dogs cost more and are very dry and are very hard. The hot dog is smaller than the bread.
That's disgusting.
That's not acceptable in any sense.
That's the same West Ham.
Even if they get smaller bread, aesthetically, I would be more pleased with that. Even though there's less food, it just looks wrong. Yeah, so excellent hot dogs.
Yeah, Ollie loved the hot dog so much that he decided to take one over Ryan Sessegnon's goal.
Yeah, I mean, how many goals do you see every week? Loads.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many hot dogs do you have every week?
As many as you want.
Who just panic eats hot dogs? Right? You know what I mean?
I mean, barbecue season's coming up. I'm hoping to hit double figures in terms of weekly hot dog stats.
Where in the world do you think you live? Barbecue season. We had sunny weather 2 days
Yeah,
ago.
but by barbecue season, I mean it's not going to rain for a couple of days, so just going to.
So you're getting your top half, and
top
yeah,
half, yeah.
fair enough.
So what were your findings on Cravendale Cottage, which by the way is a brand deal they're missing?
Yeah, no, I was thinking like honestly they need to do it. Their current one's like it's like I don't know, it's like they sell printers or something. It's like FX something. But anyway, probably special effects now that I think about it. Moving on from the advertising opportunities at Fulham Football Club.
Please sponsor us.
Yeah, please. Fulham or Cravendale?
Both. Or anyone to give us money.
Companies?
Yeah.
I do like the idea of Fulham sponsoring us.
That would be nice.
Sponsoring Fulham.
The amount that I kind of talk up the milkshakes at Sweet, I'm surprised that no one's contacted them to give me some kind of sponsorship.
Yeah, they should do. You've got a good radio voice, actually. You could do their ads for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean that.
All right, cool.
But anyway, Cravendale Cottage. Basically, I'd been there before, Ben had been there before, Jack had never been there before, but like, I think the one thing everyone gets when they first go there is how odd a stadium it is, especially in London, in the sense that it's by the riverside, and that's one side, that's the back of one side. The other stand, the opposite one, from the outside, it's got this facade, it's just like a row of houses, and if there wasn't like 10,000 football fans outside it, you would just think it were a row of houses as opposed to like the fake back of a stand. It's just the oddest little stadium, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like, you look at, like, say, Arsenal's ground, Wembley, Tottenham's new one to come. They sort of all look the same. And to think in London that there's a stadium that sort of... It's weird. I'm getting a bit like Lord of the Ringsy here. It's kind of quaint, if that makes sense. That's the only word I can come up with. And in terms of, like, the atmosphere, like, it's not the loudest place in the world.
Also quaint.
It is also very quaint. Yeah, I should have said that, Jack. But thank you for stepping in.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I lost me because Jack rudely interrupted me. Yeah.
I think for me, I think this is quite unique is around the country. One of my favourite things about Craven Cottage is if you sit in the riverside end, you can have a pint on the river at half time. Like, how gorgeous is that?
Yeah, that's like, it's weird. This is the first time I went to the ground and it felt like a high stakes football match.
Yeah.
Other times I went, it just felt like a nice day out. It's like a fairly quiet crowd with like cheap tickets in London, especially when they're in the Premier League. Like, they never sold out, but you could guarantee yourself a ticket to every home game. You can't really do that to most football clubs.
I was saying this to Jack, like, as bad as this, I'm sorry if I offend any Fulham fans, but I often used Fulham as like a hangover cure on the Saturday. If I went out on the Friday and I had a really bad hangover, I thought, where can I get some quiet, fresh air? And I'd go to Craven Cottage. I know that's really bad, but it's the truth.
Yeah, that is quite offensive. But when you think the little scenic walk you have to go through from Putney Bridge Station through that park...
That's what really got me. Because like, I'm used to going to West Ham where you come out of the tube station, walk past the shopping centre, up a dual carriageway that's been like closed off for the day, just walking into the road, past a swimming pool. Like, it's a weird walk. Then you go to Fulham and you're like under a little bridge through a nice park with a fountain alongside the river.
Yeah, it's weird walking after the game. Like, you can actually get a seat on public transport after the game. Like, you know, like Wembley is like the travelling almost puts you off going. Yeah, like there's a part of you that's like, I don't want to go to Wembley. I've got nothing against Wembley, the place. Actually, I do. Ignoring my prejudice against Wembley, it's just all round like a great day out at Fulham. And I know that, like we were saying, it almost sounds a bit patronising.
Yeah,
it's like a great day out. Your hangover cure thing is definitely offensive.
What I really forgot about this little apathetic club in Fulham is that they were in a Europa League final like not that long.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal didn't even do that. You know, like
it's crazy. Like, I always forget that under Roy Hodgson they put Juventus out of the Europa League and like got to the final.
I didn't know that until I was listening to the Totally Football show yesterday. I was like, what? Because like I'll be honest with you, until this season I'd never actually watched Europa League.
I remember it happening, being like, they put out Juventus and then they put out someone else big. I can't remember who it was, and I was like, what's actually happening here?
Didn't they get battered in the final? They lost like...
No, it was quite close.
2-0.
No?
Yeah.
2-0, I think.
Oh, I thought it was 4-0.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
No, talking about kind of quaint, different stadiums, there's this cool one, Loftus Road. I don't know if either of you have been, but to get to one of the stands, you have to like almost walk through someone's back garden.
Yeah.
Like it's because it's a huge club, QPR, and it's an incredible stadium, but it's hidden among all these houses. It's literally plonked, like there's just houses built around the stadium, and you have to walk through kind of this alleyway, and like literally it's like you're going to someone's house and there's fences, and you should walk through someone's garden to get there. I don't know, I just think that's incredible.
We have definitely next year. We planned, like when the season starts up again, or we've planned. I would like to do it. It's like I'm literally pitching ideas on the show to the people who are in the show, but like do like a school trip episode where we talk through just a stadium we've been to, sort of thing.
Definitely.
Like essentially, you've been to most stadiums
ever in the world.
Yeah, have you been to all stadiums in London?
Yeah.
Even the really bad ones.
Especially the bad ones, yeah, because they're cheaper.
What's the worst one?
The worst? Oh, wow.
Don't say it.
Don't say the
No, I like
the
them all. There's no stadiums that I dislike because they've all got their own kind of like redeeming, I mean, if they're a bit on the kind of, sorry, I can't swear, a bit on the more run down end, then they tend to have a bit of a better atmosphere.
Yeah, they got more charm to them.
Yeah.
But like, you look at somewhere like Wembley or the Olympic Stadium.
Oh, actually, no, Olympic Stadium's a bit, I'm sorry, Jack. Like, you're so far away from the pitch, and it just doesn't feel like a football stadium. It kind of feels like it's like you're on a temporary stand. I'm sorry, I know that's your ground for the next 100 years, but
I mean, the only thing that really annoys me about it is the stupid running track.
Yeah,
because see, when West Ham moved into it, they did a whole big press release, but like retractable seating will cover the stand.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
will cover the track. They'll be right on the pitch, and they said all this without checking if they could get planning permission, which they couldn't.
Wow.
So
I mean,
we're just stuck with this running track.
I've been to Stadio Olimpico in Rome, and in Italy, crowds never really sell out apart from European games because the league is sort of, it's like a foregone conclusion. They're not going to win the league. Like Juventus will win the league. They don't even sell their... It's boring for Juventus fans. Like, they don't even sell out their game. But at the Stadio Olimpico, in spite of the running track, the atmosphere is still amazing. So I don't necessarily think there's something fundamentally impossible about having a good atmosphere at a stadium with a running track, but like for whatever reason West Ham haven't cracked it.
With West Ham, there's been 2 or 3 times I've went and thought this is a Premiership atmosphere. It seems to be when the fans care about a game they can work around it, but I think the bigger problem is that West Ham have been playing awful football, so therefore the fans are kind of don't really care enough to drum up that atmosphere.
I think if anyone could make an atmosphere there, it would be West Ham fans.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, but Roma as well, they don't hide their running track. There's like, yes, this is this orange clay on the ground with lines on it. West Ham are like, we'll stick a green carpet over it, and they might just think it's the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it even adds a charm to it if you just leave the running track there. Like, do you think that's...
Or even, I don't know, there were even talks of making the carpet over it, like West Ham coloured, which would be a slight improvement. Because at the minute, it does just feel like a neutral ground that West Ham happened to play in.
You know the pitch invasion earlier in the season when Mark Noble went all Charles Bronson or whatever it was and started attacking people? It just occurred to me, how far did the West Ham fans have to run to get onto the pitch?
That's the thing.
Did they have to do a lap?
I was in like the second or third row at the weekend. It's not that far.
Yeah,
it's only really far if you're in the corner where you're at an angle on the running track. Like if you're on the sides, you're the same distance away as sort of another stadium.
And you got to think of all the glorious moments it's offered. Like, earlier in the season, West Ham playing Tottenham, where Mark Noble walks across the running track, and there's a West Ham guy. He's standing over like like the tunnels where not the players go through, but like ambulances and stuff come onto the pitch if needs be. He runs over there and he throws his shirt to a guy, and he grabs it and he just falls down into it. And like that couldn't happen at any other ground. They'd have nothing to fall onto.
Mark Noble seems to be a real magnet for that type of thing. Like, most of his notable moments in his career are things that have happened not strictly footballing. It's like pushing a fan, giving weird interviews.
I think it's hard to get like defining moments in football when you play for West Ham, though, to be fair.
Well, they're normally tragic moments, but they're still defining ones, you know?
Well, Carroll's got his bicycle kick.
Yeah.
That's about it.
You've really got a hunt for joy to support West Ham.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, he scored that one goal and they literally painted a mural of him on the stadium. That's how low our bar is.
Wow. I mean, what is on like West Ham? I know Arsenal, when they moved to the Emirates, like when we first joined to it, it was considered just a bit charmless and there was nothing. Arsenal about it. So they did this thing for years. It was called like Arsenalisation, and it's a ridiculous name. And like they put up, like ex-players on the wall. They do loads of like art things, put up statues, and it does look like a proper stadium now, and that reflects Arsenal. Like West Ham, is it just literally like if you're in Stratford, you can see the big West Ham logo?
Well, yeah, they've put claret and blue and West Ham logos all around it, and on the base of the stadium. So when you can actually get up close, they've got like Bobby Moore, Billy Bonds, Frank Lampard Senior, Mark Noble, Andy Carroll, I think, are like the sort of murals on it.
No, Marlon Harewood.
Unfortunately not. Maybe if he'd actually scored in that FA Cup final, he probably would have been on there. But
did he have chances to
clearly
score?
Still gutted about it.
Yeah, it actually hurts me.
I was surprised he didn't come on for Derby. Oh yeah, before I go, because I do have to go in a minute, we have to talk about Derby's weird team that was just full of like ex-Premier League players who were not even at their peak weren't that good. David Nugent came on for Cameron Jerome, which was like, that was a real sorry state of affairs.
I think Cameron Jerome's one of my favourite footballers in the fact that he can score like 50 goals in the Championship, then he comes up to the Premiership and gets like 2.
Yeah. There is like, players like that, they normally have one good year in the Premiership. Yeah. Like Glenn Murray this year, he's finally sort of done it. I don't think Cameron Jerome's ever going to crack it. And like David Nugent, I honestly think, I think he played for England once and he scored once. Yeah. It shouldn't have counted as his goal.
No, he stole it off the line.
Yeah.
Defoe hit a shot, he followed it in. Defoe's shot was going in anyway, but he still two-poked it in.
Yeah, like, I can't remember if there was something wrong with it, like it was either already over the line or it was offside or something. But I remember thinking it actually should have got disallowed. So like his one goal for England was like, it was not only factually incorrect, it was also morally somehow wrong.
That's such a David Nugent thing to do, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a very big fan of David Nugent, mainly because he gave the Forest fans the finger when we went over to Pride Park. So
yeah, I mean, who else did they have? They had Tom Huddleston,
Joe Ledley on the bench. I don't think he came on.
Yeah,
but I think I saw him after the game.
Yeah, no, he's there.
Joe Ledley, yeah.
Curtis Davis.
Yeah. There was definitely another funny
Keogh.
one. Richard Keogh's not as funny as...
I mean, he's still another failed Premiership player.
Oh, I just think there's something particularly funny about bad strikers.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but...
no, I can't think of it anymore.
Yeah, it's never a good sign when, like... You know that thing teams who have no money do? And like
Scott Carson.
Yeah, Scott Carson, yeah. A weird thing came up on Twitter the other day about Scott Carson. He's only 32, which means he's younger than Will from the In-Between.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I think Will's like 36 or something, isn't he?
Yeah, I can't believe Scott Carson's only 32.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought he was like pushing 40.
Since you need to go, and me and Ben will talk about this more in depth, give us your really summarised views on the England squad, which we'll read out in full after a break when he goes.
Really summarised. Too many defenders have been brought. In midfield, there are no people who can pass between the lines. Out of Jack Wilshere, Harry Winks and John Joe Shelvey, at least 2 of them should have went. Or 2 of them, full stop, should have went. Probably Wilshere and Shelvey, because England aren't going to be able to break down any remotely organised team. And I think they're definitely going out in either the groups of the first knockout stage.
Way.
Thank you.
So that's Captain Optimism there.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Going to take a quick break, then me and Ben will read the squad out fully, sort of give our opinions, which probably aren't going to be as good as that anyway. So see you then. He's gone. We can talk
thank God.
now. So talk freely about the England squad.
Right, so I've checked it, well, as I should have done really before coming on a football radio show. I'm actually quite happy with it.
Okay. Why?
Well, see, there's a lot of young players in there, which I think has been overdue. I think that even... I know it feels that we're always building for the next tournament, but I think a lot of these young players... but the thing is, okay, everything that I say, I know that it's all been said before in previous years, but I don't know, I still think it is true. I mean, you look at some of the up-and-coming players that have come up in the Premier League, like Alexander-Arnold, and like... Loftus-Cheek, like they're good players and they've proven themselves at the Premier League level. So I think that it will be interesting to go and see how they do.
Okay, so I should probably read this squad out just in case you're listening and haven't actually seen it. Pickford, Butland, Pope, Alexander-Arnold, Rose, Young, Cahill, Jones, Stones, Maguire, Walker, Trippier, Delph, Loftus-Cheek, Dyer, Henderson, Sterling, Lingard, Ali, Vardy, Rashford, Welbeck, Kane. So I guess the big shock, really, the headline was Gary Cahill's in it, because he wasn't in the one for the past 2 friendlies in March.
I thought a bigger headline was that Hart was left out.
Yeah, and that's a decision I don't necessarily agree with. What's your opinions on it?
I think that I think it was a good shout personally.
Okay.
Because see, what I'm thinking is that England have failed so dramatically over the past few years. It's not even that kind of Frank Lampard era where they were kind of getting to semi-finals and they were doing okay. It's been very embarrassing knockouts, Iceland in the group stages and these previous ones. And I think that kind of generation of player should maybe step aside and let a new breed of England player come through.
See, my opinion on it was, I think the starter is well, I know the starter is either going to be Butland or Pickford, probably Pickford.
Yeah.
Nick Pope's probably not going to play a game. I'd be willing to bet, especially because the games England have are Tunisia, Panama, Belgium. I'd be willing to bet if Pickford plays against Tunisia, Butland plays against Panama, because they're not going to lose to either of those teams realistically.
Well, let's wait and see. Okay.
They shouldn't to either of those teams. So I think they'll probably give them both a go, and then based on those, maybe decide.
See, this is so frustrating because it seems to be the case every year that we're still picking our team. It frustrates me quite a lot that we don't know our strongest team, and this is what happened last year, and it's what's been happening over the past few years is that we go into a tournament, we don't know our strongest team, and we're mixing and matching. Like, we know, both playing in defence, that strong defensive unit, that consistent defensive unit is so important to be successful.
See, I would say they don't know their strongest team, but I think it's fair to say Nick Pope, as good a season as he has, isn't in their strongest team, and I would say isn't in their strongest squad. There's a difference between the team and the squad. I think Joe Hart should be in the squad purely because he's been at 4 major tournaments. And if they're not going to play anyway, why bring Pope, who doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to spend 3 weeks away from his family, doesn't know how to kill all that free time, doesn't know what kind of media pressure they're under? Or you could bring Hart, who could help the likes of Alexander-Arnold, who could help the likes of Loftus-Cheek, even Dele Alli.
See, I think I've probably got a bit of a different approach to this as a lot of England fans. I think for me, my expectation has sunken so low that it's kind of a free kick at it for me. So for me, I just think that just taking these new players and seeing what they can do, because I know we're probably not going to win, and if they do fail, then so be it. I think that's just me and my expectations being so low that I'm kind of thinking just take a risk, even if it is a risk like that.
See, but then they're saying I think it was Gary Lineker, that I may be wrong on that, said we should just write this one off and build for 2022.
Oh, we're always building though.
They said that in 2014 about this. They said, let's just give Raheem Sterling a chance. Let's give blah blah blah. I think it was Jack Wilshere was in that team. Fraser Forster played a game in nets. What's happened to him? But so they've had that experience. So why write off this World Cup when you've got Kane, who's world class? I wouldn't go as far as to say world class for the following players, but they're definitely the bracket below world class. Sterling, Ali.
See, I think it's a good mix. I mean, Kane, he can get a goal out of anywhere. We've seen that this season, and he's been incredibly prolific. And just a lot of these other players, we can see that we've seen that they have the quality. And then when you mix in some of the maybe bright sparks that maybe some of the other international players haven't really noticed that or seen as much, like the likes of Alexander-Arnold, who might just bring something a bit different.
See, I'm going to sound like I'm giving praise to England here, which is maybe going to hurt me a bit. But I actually respect Gareth Southgate because he seems to have balls that England managers haven't before.
Definitely.
He's picked against what the media would have picked, which hasn't always happened. He told Rooney there wasn't a place for him when no other manager would. The same thing with Hart this year. He seems to have his squad in mind for better or worse. So you have to imagine players like maybe Cahill that isn't probably going to play, or Jones, Young, players that are on the periphery and could have been easily swapped out for someone else. There's a reason he's brought them that we don't know from the outside.
I mean, can you imagine the confidence boost that a player like Rashford, like Alexander-Arnold, like those young keepers get from Southgate saying, I am choosing you over this kind of defined player, this tested player. I'm trusting you. Can you imagine the kind of confidence that would give them?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that because Southgate's picking all these players for a reason, like all beyond just their reputation. 'Cause especially Capello's teams, you could argue he picked them based on like who had the highest rating on FIFA.
Yeah, that's what I usually do, to be fair.
Yeah, so I think that players like Cahill's one I keep going back to because he's such a weird inclusion.
Yeah.
So Chelsea have had a pedestrian season, and he's had a pedestrian season even by Chelsea standards. He's only played 27 of the 38 games, which is 11 less than he usually does. But I would say that he's a leader in that squad, and that's why he's been brought. Because like if you take him out of it, if you cover his name up, your best leader there is probably Henderson.
Yeah.
Like that's not enough to carry a 23-man squad. No disrespect to Jordan Henderson. So I would be optimistic in that sense, but I guess
I know. But the thing is, we've had experience in the past, and it's not done us any good.
But then I think that's what I'm trying to say, though, that one or two experienced players isn't the same as bringing 34-year-old Gerrard and Lampard and Rooney like they did last time.
It's good because they're not taking up too many spaces yet. They're still getting the experience in.
Which is why I think Joe Hart should have been there, though. I think that's the one thing I would change. Well, I mean, if it was up to me, I would change it all and bring 50-year-olds and just watch them fight in round one. But if I want England to win, I'm bringing Hart instead of Pope, I think.
It's a close one, but I don't know. I think I just like drama, and I think just drama for drama's sake, I quite like, to be honest.
Where do you stand on Shelvey?
Oh, he's a bit of a loose cannon, isn't he?
I've been getting a lot of sort of backlash from this morning for saying I don't really rate him, because there seems to be this consensus all of a sudden that he's like the bald Messi. Like, where has this come from?
Obviously, his performances recently have been outstanding. You see, Rafa Benitez has been quite public in his condemnation of Southgate for not picking Shelvey, which is admirable. It's good to see from a manager. Usually they want them to stay home and stay in.
I'm really glad that there's no West Ham players in there.
Yeah. Because you do sometimes get some bad injuries here.
Yeah, well, Dean Ashton got injured for England when he was at West Ham and had to retire. So ever since then, if a West Ham player gets called up, I hate it.
Yeah.
So what's your prediction?
See, okay, obviously, I say everything I say here, I say very cautiously. We should, we should get out the group stages. I'm sure we will. We can't. Surely not. We can't. Like,
you have to.
And again, like it's one of those ones where I'll watch them and I'll enjoy watching them, and it'll be nice to see England do well. But I don't think I'll start getting excited until getting through that first knockout round.
Okay.
I think I just can't. I don't know. It's tough because again, we don't know our strongest side, so I don't know how well they can play. Yeah, I think maybe have a look at the first
team. I mean, you'd have to say 8 of them are picked, really. Like, the back three is going to be Walker, Maguire, Stone. You'd imagine the wing backs, bar and a shock, is going to be Trippier, Rose. Midfield is going to be Henderson, Dyer, you would think. Then Sterling, Ali, Kane, or Sterling, Lingard, Kane.
See, that is the going forward. We look incredible, and there's definitely a lot of pace there as well, which I think will do us quite well. But it's hard to predict. I think quarterfinals. I'd be happy with quarterfinals. I don't know, but the thing is, it's quite sad, isn't it, that as an England fan that quarterfinals is seen as an achievement. But if we are building for maybe the Euros or the next World Cup, then I don't think. I think quarters might be a good stepping stone, a good platform to kind of shoot off for the next. Because if we can play well, and say if we go out to a really strong like Germany or Spanish team in the World Cup, then. And we know that the team can do well. Then, if we kind of keep that consistent team throughout the qualifiers for the Euros, then maybe we can do something there.
I mean, I don't think qualifiers are a good sort of judge for England because they haven't lost in like the last 20, have they? They smash them and then get to the tournament and can't do it. So that's probably enough England talk for me before I throw up. So I guess next we should probably talk about the managerial positions in the Premiership. It's Everton, West Ham, and oh my god, my mind's gone blank.
Arsenal.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, quite a subtle, No, I don't think anyone really noticed, did they? About the managerial vacancy there.
Yeah, we definitely haven't mentioned it on here.
No.
For 40 minutes at a time for the past 3 weeks. So Arsenal's very strongly linked with Arteta, and Ollie's take on this before he left, we managed to get a sentence out of him. He says that if they're going to take a risk, he wants the Arteta risk. He wants that type of risk. What do you think on that?
See, it's quite. I think it's quite sad that we're never going to see the likes of Arsene Wenger or Alex Ferguson again. I think the days of just a long-term managerial solution are over. But I don't know. I could see Arteta. He strikes me as someone who could work on a project. But it's just his experience that I'm concerned about.
First sort of proper job.
But I feel that he did a lot at Man City, and but you know he didn't stop playing that long ago. You know, I guess he did see the workings of Pep and how that works. But a lot of the other kind of you see Jose Mourinho, the amount of time that he spent as an assistant manager under Bobby Robson and under kind of other various kind of really prolific managers, it's a much longer time.
But then that gamble has to come somewhere. Like Barcelona had to gamble on Pep.
Yeah.
Real Madrid had to gamble on Zidane, who's won the Champions League twice in a row. So, and according to Oli, I don't really know, but apparently when he was at Arsenal, he was the one that in interviews every player would say he's a future manager. Yeah. Apparently he's been sort of tactically minded like that. I'm interested to see. It's kind of refreshing to see them not just go back to like the Ancelotti well that everyone seems to go to when they need a manager. Like Ancelotti, Allegri was linked. Like these sort of names you hear linked with every job. It's refreshing to see a change.
But it's clear that it's a big rebuilding job there, and I don't think that Ancelotti would want to stay around for too long. Allegri, I don't think he'd want to stay around for too long in Arsenal.
Yeah.
Whereas Arteta, because you know he's relatively new to it, he could spend quite a while kind of rebuilding and kind of refreshing that Arsenal team. And he's got a good squad to work with. It's no Man City or Man United, obviously, but if given the funds, I think that he could build something. Obviously, the competition's incredible now, but you know he could build something over time.
So, Everton then, Big Sam's gone, despite the fact that if the table started when he took the Everton job, they'd have finished 7th.
Wow.
So, what do you think it was harsh, or do you think it was justified?
I don't know. He just seemed to rub the Everton fans up the wrong way, and I don't know. He was very loud. I don't think the board were too happy with him kind of shooting his mouth off.
He rubs everyone up the wrong way.
That's the thing, though.
From experience, he's just not a nice manager to have at your club.
But what do you expect if you hire Sam Allardyce as your manager? Like, he's not exactly going to be like giving everyone dandelions, is he?
Yeah. No, I don't get what the Everton board, especially, were so mad about. Like, he wins games, but he does it in the most boring, hateable fashion. And if anyone says anything about him, he's like, well, how many points have we won? Like, I'm a god.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't get why the shot came from the board. I completely get the fans' point of view because I've had him at West Ham.
Yeah.
There was a game West Ham beat Hull at home 1-0, and they came out from the first minute, defend it, and won with a penalty. And they got booed off after the win. And Allardyce went over to the fans and like cupped his ears and like basically like played up the boos. And he was the manager. Like, he's just awful. But Marco Silva is apparently taken over there. Who?
See, I don't mean this to sound controversial, but I'm genuinely asking, like, what would you associate as the Everton? I mean, their identity in how they play. Do they really have one?
No.
Would you say?
Well, I mean, it's not. They had Moyes for years. He's not exactly a free-flowing attacking manager.
Yeah, like I feel that Allardyce may be somewhere where they had a different culture of playing that might have been a bit worse. But I know Marco Silva, obviously we've seen him before, and he can really. I don't know. I think the Everton fans will like the way that he plays.
Well, I mean, he was sacked from Watford for openly saying he wants the Everton job. So I guess it's just been
I guess it just makes sense, really.
Waiting to happen. Yeah. And then the other one's West Ham, who I don't want to say fired David Moyes because his contract ran out and they just didn't offer him a new one. They're far too cheap to fire him. So the big names linked with this, and it is big names. It's Fonseca, who's one of these managers you always hear about being really good, but I don't know much about him, to be honest. But Ollie likes him, so I guess that
he must be good, yeah.
And Benitez.
Oh, is that a step up though?
Oh, it's absolutely a step up.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel something good happening at Newcastle. If given the funds, he could.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant from Moyes to Benitez.
Oh, right. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, I think West Ham are probably the only club in the country that could give Mike Ashley a run for not being the worst owner. So if he's leaving Everton because of the board, I don't think we're the best place to go.
I mean, I feel bad for Benitez going from the 20th worst board to the 19th worst board. Like he's very slowly working his way up, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean he is.
He's trying to get that Man City job. That's what he's doing. Trying to get that Sheikh Mansour money.
Yeah, that would definitely be the best board to work for. But I mean, West Ham, he can come to West Ham. He can get slated in the press. He can get as many signings as he wants, but they're not spending money on anyone.
I don't see why Benitez would want to. I mean, he's done a brilliant job with Newcastle. I think he could get a very good job somewhere in
money
Europe.
Talks.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
And West Ham do have money. They don't like to spend it, but they generally seem to spend it on managers more than players.
Yeah.
Like when Allardyce was at West Ham, he was the third best paid manager in the world.
That's crazy. Oh, there's something wrong with the finances over there.
Yeah,
clearly.
Of course. You just need to look at David Sullivan.
Yeah,
like, he literally wears like proper Russian dictator clothing and just sits there.
He's like a wannabe Abramovich, isn't he?
There's just something really like overlord about him.
Yeah,
but I'm going to do it anyway. You've already said it once. The Dildo Brothers. I think they're just going to drive everyone away from our club, unless it's someone like Benitez who's unhappy. Or someone like Fonseca who needs a break in a big league, that it's a gamble worth taking. I don't think we're going to sort of lure a big manager away from their club under any other circumstances.
I don't know. I mean, what's your views? I mean, just kind of a little brief end of season kind of looking forward review for West Ham. What do you think?
I think Moyes really did the job. Like he was brought in to keep us up, and when he came in, we were second last, ended up finishing 13th.
Yeah.
So he definitely did the job. But he wasn't exciting, and it's not. When we lost under him, we lost. Like I think there was a week we lost 3-0, 4-0, 3-0. So like it's not as if we were narrowly losing games. Like, but we also had big wins. Just beat Everton 3-1, beat Crystal Palace 3-0, Bournemouth as well. I think we beat 2 or 3-0. So we had big wins, but big losses too.
Do you feel optimistic for the future?
I do, but we definitely need restructuring.
Yeah.
I think the defence needs the most investment because it looks like James Collins isn't going to get a new contract, and he's kind of past it anyway. But sentimentally, I'd like him to get a new contract. Ogbonna is one of the best defenders in the bottom half of the league until his brain switches off for 5 minutes a game and he does something crazy. Declan Rice is perfect. I'll hear nothing bad about Declan Rice. I hope he stays. He's unbelievable. So good to watch. But that's what makes me scared because I think he is going to go. Zabaleta's had a great season, but is also ancient. Evra, I think his contract's out, and he was an awful signing. I think we would need to buy a centre back or two, and a centre mid, and it's just about whether they're willing to spend the money to make us the top half team that we really are. If you look at our squad, that's a top 10 squad. It's whether they want to plug that hole with the same quality, or whether they want to cheap out on it and keep us in the league and nothing more. I think this summer is going to be a big one for West Ham in terms of that.
Kind of on the Premier League and looking forward to next season. We haven't kind of planned this, but looking at the Championship playoff final, obviously we were at the semi-final, so we've had a good look at Fulham. So, I mean, Fulham versus Aston Villa. Well, what's your predictions?
I completely forgot John Terry was at Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Until I seen him in the paper, like, celebrating. I don't know. Fulham didn't impress me that much, to be honest.
Really? No, that was attack off. They weren't very prolific, but they attacked a lot.
See, I said this to you at the game. I read in the newspaper on the way there that some columnist had written Fulham deserved to be in the Premiership. They would beat Crystal Palace and they would beat West Ham.
Yeah.
I don't see that. And maybe that just wasn't necessarily a good game. It wasn't a bad game. Like I said, they attacked, but they weren't prolific. Their main sort of attack was play the ball into Mitrovic, who'll lean back into the defender and then lay someone off. That won't work in the Premiership. Like, it's all right leaning into KO and Davies, but if you try and do that on Otamendi, a proper high quality defender, they're going to make you look silly. And Mitrovic has already seen that in the Premiership. He already sort of failed in the Premiership once.
I think when you look at Championship clubs coming up, it's always quite hard to kind of gauge how they'll do in the Premier League because obviously we haven't seen them against Premier League opposition.
Especially before this season as well, it was always a big sort of they need to buy lots of players, but Brighton and Huddersfield didn't really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I imagine Fulham and Aston Villa would probably need to spend to stay up. But I haven't seen much of Aston Villa, to be honest. What are they like?
See, defensively, John Terry has worked absolute wonders for them.
Yeah.
I've seen them live when they came to Forest, and they did very well. They just look like a very good coherent team. Obviously, they've got Steve Bruce there, who knows what he's doing. He's got very good experience in the Premier League and the Championship. Kind of that up and yo-yo kind of.
Really good sort of Premiership quality players. Like they've got Snodgrass, who's on loan from West Ham. West Ham paid 20 million for him last season, so that's the kind of player he is, and you'd imagine he's going to go there permanently. They've got Jack Grealish, who's quite good. But then I don't know if he's one of these players that's quite good when you see him on Instagram score a banger and then does nothing for the next month.
He is good. He does look very sharp. I've seen him kind of in full games. He does look very sharp. I think Aston Villa, they could hold their own in the Premier League, and they've obviously got the infrastructure there from being there for decades. So yeah. I think Fulham have obviously got the infrastructure as well. I don't know. They're just something that feels a bit soft about.
That's what I was going to say. From watching Fulham, I'd say they need a bit of bite.
Yeah.
But then I imagine they would spend if they came up, because I think they'd sell too.
I think what was noticeable as well, like physically looking at them, like Derby were just a lot bigger. Yeah. And to their credit, they got past that. But I think when you've got the size and the skill that will come with the Premier League players, I think Fulham might struggle a bit more. Whereas you look at Aston Villa, and they've got, like in defence especially, they've got some bigger players.
What do you call the guy that scored Fulham's second goal? Dennis something?
Oh, what was his name?
Dennis O. It begins with an O anyway, but he was defender. He's pretty small.
Yeah.
Like, he was tiny. I don't think that's necessarily going to cut it in the Premiership.
No.
Like, not to be proper, like, yeah, you need to be big, you need to be, but he was a small centre-back.
This is 6'4" Jack talking to 5'8" Ben.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you were to say which one of us looks like a Premiership centre-back, well, centre-back, not necessarily Premiership. Maybe all self-conscious here, just looking at me.
Looking him up and down in a Celtic shirt.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so I look like an SPL centre-back.
Yeah. You proper look like a proper Scottish Championship, like, yeah.
Yeah, pie at half-time centre-back.
Yeah. Down a pint before we go out on the pitch, kind of. Sorry, I don't know how we got to disrespecting the Scottish Championship.
Yeah.
It's a perfectly good league.
Yeah, perfectly good league with one team that's going to win it for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
So quickly, I know you said you didn't want to, but I'm going to do it anyway. How did Forest's year go? How did you sum that up?
I'm actually quite optimistic looking for the future. Karanka, he came in and he's playing some. I know that I had my rant when they did change it. I'm feeling a bit stupid about that now, because Karanka, you see him, he's playing some very nice European football, which is cutting it in the Championship. I'm optimistic, definitely.
Do you think there'll be much spent? Or
yeah, financially, because we were under a transfer embargo for a few years there, but we've they seem to be announcing some sponsorship deal every week, so that can only be good for finances. And our chairman as well, we've got a new chairman, and because I'm very sad, I read his background, and he's got a very extensive background in finances, so
looking good there.
Yeah,
and you've still got your Derby.
Oh, honestly, I was so happy about that. I didn't think I'd get as excited as I did. I think I got some weird looks from Jack and Oli when I started jumping on the chairs and jumping on other Fulham fans.
Fulham scored their first goal, and I looked over, and Ben was like hugging this guy beside us, who was like on a chair, and Oli looked at me and was like, he's actually more excited than the Fulham fans.
The thing is, like, I know it's just really petty, but I need that the Forest Derby game. If they go up, it will kill me, because then what do I have to look forward to? Because Forest aren't going to get promoted anytime soon. Honestly, we have Derby at home, Derby away, Leeds at home, Leeds away. That's our season right there. So I'm very happy they're still down here with us and still clobbering it in the Championship. Although I do have to feel some sympathy for Derby fans. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, to get into the playoffs, I think like 5 seasons in a row, apart from one season where they missed out on the playoffs on the last day of the season. Like, it can't be easy, but it's brilliant to watch from my end. I can't complain at all.
All right, so I think that's probably going to end this week with the nice bitterness that you've come to expect, normally from Oli.
Yeah, I don't know. I just love it. I love watching. This is really bad, but I just loved watching Derby fans get all riled up and just grumpy about it.
Oh, before we go, just so as we don't break Oli's streak, even though he's not here, Mourinho's bad. So that's
yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Good thing I remembered that one.
Yeah. So just in case you had forgotten from last week, we still don't like Mourinho. So we'll see you next week. We don't know if Ben will be here. Ben doesn't know if Ben will be here.
Ben doesn't know where he'll be in the next 3 hours. So
But we will communicate with you, and me and Ollie will definitely be here. So
Nice being back. Thank you.
See ya.